Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm Marcus Jones, the Bluff City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And once again, I'm joined by a special host, Mr. Amanda Foster, the creator of the DC4L Network. Thank you for joining, Amanda.
Of course. Thanks for having me. And howdy, folks.
So, yeah, we had a great win. So, we get to celebrate a victory Wednesday with our defeat of the Philadelphia Eagles. So, I had to bring Amanda back just so we can talk a little about what we saw in that game and how great it was to get that redemption from the last game that we should have won.
Man.
Yeah, I see the views are starting to grow pretty quickly. So thank you guys for joining us. I see a lot of you are leaving comments. Thank you for that. Welcome, Sydney Byron. Hector Rosario was the first one to come in. And Algernon Coney, thank you for joining. I know I'm going to butcher names, so I apologize in advance. Chris Wormsley has started to become a regular, so thank you for tuning in also. So for all of you people who are now joining us, make sure you follow these guys' path because the Fifth Quarter Podcast is powered by the fan base. So leave your questions, leave your comments. If you want to give us a shout out, you want to say, let's go Cowboys, DC4L, what have you, put it in the comments. We'll make sure to put it on the screen, and we will try to address as many questions and comments as possible. And also, if you have not done so already, make sure you guys go on Facebook, find the DC4L Facebook groups. There are 2 of them. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you join those groups. It's a great place for Cowboys content, a great place for Cowboys fans to interact. And also, if you haven't done so already, if you join us from YouTube, and thank you for joining us from YouTube, Jeff, make sure you guys click the link that's in the comments, go to my YouTube page, Bluff City Cowboys, and help me on my path to 1,000 subscribers.
Got to get Marcus up there for sure.
Yeah, we're starting to grow slowly, but we're definitely going in the right direction. We've only been doing this about 5 weeks now, and I've already seen a lot of growth. So I think we're definitely going to get there as the show progresses. But with as many guys that are watching right now, if you guys would just go take a few seconds, hit that subscribe button, you can get me there that much quicker.
Hey, Jeff.
So that's pretty much all the housekeeping I got right now. So let's get into it with a game recap from Sunday night's game against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Game recap.
All right, so as you guys know, the Dallas Cowboys put a complete beat down on the Philadelphia Eagles by a score of 33-13. It really could have been a lot more than that. We settled for field goals late in the game, and we kind of got away from what was working for about 2 or 3 drives. And then after that fumble for a touchdown, which should not have happened, we kind of turned the switch on again and started moving the ball a little bit. But overall, just a dominant front to back beating of the Eagles. And I love the video. I love this photo of AJ Brown because that pretty much summarizes their entire day and his mentality during the game.
Yeah, and y'all don't worry. I went and tagged Stephon on Twitter and let him know that Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis both decided to call him old before the game even started. So I'm just doing my part out here.
That definitely will help because you guys all heard he said one of the reasons he stepped up so much is because AJ Brown called him old before the game, and he had to show him the old dog still had a few tricks.
Woo! You don't make a former defensive player of the year mad, man.
Exactly. Jeff says he's gonna make a fake profile and subscribe again. Jeff, I appreciate that. If you do, we got Rachel Nians joining us. Thank you for joining us as always. I see we got my guy Timothy Spooney joining in the comments over with the Pick Six podcast. I believe you guys go live in a few minutes, so thank you for stepping into the Fifth Quarter podcast for a few minutes before you guys go live. Chris Wormsley saying Dak, Gilmore, Aubrey, 3 great players in that game. And Timothy Spooney summarizing it, never call Stephon old. And Rachel Neen saying someone should call him old before every game. Amanda's doing her part to try to get us that this week so that we can keep the ball rolling. Ray Dean, starting to become a regular, always coming with great questions. So before we start with our game recap, question to you, Amanda. Thoughts on Gallup? He seems not to be the same at all. Any idea why Turpin doesn't get more plays?
Well, I'm just going to say that I called, well, Marcus can vouch. So I got reamed pretty hard by the admin team because I decided to call Gallup a waste of space. That was my exact words. And about, what was it? Maybe 5 minutes later, he got that touchdown. It was pretty hard. I think Gallup's going to be a cap casualty next year. It's going to be hard. He's going to have to be post June 1st. We have to cut him that way. It's the only way we can really salvage that contract. It'll have to be a post June 1st. I think it's 8 million and then 9 million in 2025 but I don't see us keeping him, not with Cooks, because we can get Cooks for 8 million. So and we got to sign CD. So Gallup's going to be a casualty, and I'm fine with that. I mean, he has flashes of the player he used to be, but he's just not. He's very lazy on his routes. I noticed that a lot. You can always look, and he's not running. Like, he gets to a spot and just stops at one point, and it's like, what are you doing, man? So I personally think that that's the way it goes. We'll use him, but what was it, last week and the week before, we really see Tolbert and others taking his snaps. So I think that's going to be a trend as we continue forward. I hope we don't rely on him. It makes me mad every time he drops the ball. Turpin, I think we're still learning how to tinker with him properly. We got him another year. This is year 2 on a 3-year contract, and I'm sure he'll sign again. I don't see him going anywhere else. So when you pay someone as much as you're paying Michael Gallup, it's really hard to take his snaps completely away. I mean, that's just the way I guess you'd call it, the politics of it work, because he is making quite a bit of money. But that's my opinion on the Gallup situation. He's not consistent at all.
So, to piggyback on what you said, also just taking the stuff further, if you look at the old Kellen Moore, Jason Garrett system, and I talked about this for years, every wide receiver they brought in had the same profile: 6'2" to 6'3", 210, 215 pounds, runs a 4.5, slant, comeback, fade route type receivers. That's great for that system. Mike McCarthy has implemented a different system where you need to have more shifty guys on the outside who can either not only take the top off the defense, but are able to get separation at the line of scrimmage on those out routes and those drags. Michael Gallup just can't do that. So it's not really, it is his fault to an extent, because like Amanda said, his routes are lazy, but he just does not fit the mode of what they want in a wide receiver right now, because he can't do what the system asks him to do, and also because of his mentality on the field. So let's go back real quick, talk about some of my notes from the game, because I actually touched on this a little bit, talking about a few of the offensive notes. And for you guys that are joining us, I just try to give 3 glaring notes from looking at the all 22 that just really stand out to me, and then we kind of expand upon that. Either Amanda will give her thoughts and you guys will give thoughts as well. First of all, this one has been standing out for weeks. Ferguson has been playing at another level right now. Like, you can see the confidence just continue to grow in his game. Going back to that big 3rd down catch on the slant route, Ferguson 6 weeks ago would not have made that catch. But Ferguson now is attacking the ball. He's attacking defenders. He's making big plays. It's almost like he relishes the opportunity to make those plays, when before he just felt comfortable being one of the 3 amigos. Like, I'm in the tight end group. We're all going to go out there. We're going to do our thing. But Ferguson now looks like, I'm that guy, and you guys got to stop me. And I feel like he's unlocking, and I hate to put this out there, but he's unlocking that George Kittle. I won't say Kelsey yet, but he's unlocking that George Kittle type of production in the way he's been playing. Second one, and before I move on, Diane Simmons, thank you for joining us from St. Croix. Going international a little bit off the inland. So thank you for tuning in. I don't know what time it is there, but I'm pretty sure you're at least an hour or so ahead. So appreciate
Thank
you
you.
joining us on this late night show for you. Second of all, I know we gave up 3 sacks, but when I look at this game in its totality, this was one of the best all-around blocking games of the year, in my opinion. Now, the sack fumble, Dak had a great game. I have to put that one on Dak. He
Oh
pretty
yeah.
much he pretty much walked into that one because Cox was blocked if Dak stayed where he was, but Dak moved to the left right where he was being blocked at and ran right into him. So I don't put that one on the offense. The one with Hassan Reddick, I mean, he's gonna get a sack in the game. It's inevitable. And outside of that, I mean, all 5 guys were blocking great. The receivers, which was really makes this stand out, our receivers were blocking tremendously.
Yes.
That's why we were able to bring back those screen passes that were not working under the Kellen Moore system. We saw a lot more of that in this past week's game, and guys were getting 3, 4, 5 yards when in years past we end up with 2nd and 12 off those same plays. And that kind of goes into my third point as well, talking about the effort overall. Um, everybody's participating. Like you can see when you put guys like Tolbert and Turpin on the field, they're actually blocking. They're actually running their routes hard to help open up stuff for CD Lamb. They know that if they run hard, they have an opportunity to get the ball. When in years past, we always kind of knew the ball's only going to 2 or 3 guys, and that's pretty much it. But you can see the effort, and it's starting to pay off with these other receivers, not only making opportunities for themselves, but also allowing CD Lamb to get all the opportunities he's starting to get. Amanda, anything you want to add on the offensive side before I go to defense?
I think that more and more each week we see that this team doesn't have an ego when it comes to players and the big diva. We don't have that. That's not an issue on this team. I mean, you look at AJ Brown. Let's take our opponents from this past week. You take AJ Brown, who throws fits when the ball's not coming his way. You don't see that on our sideline. They take responsibility when they drop the ball. They're excited to see their teammates succeed, and I just think that bodes well for the path that we want to go. Where we want to go requires that. It's a team effort. This is a team sport, and I just think that's really exciting. And everybody's really the offense is each week. I find something new that impresses me. And I noticed blocking this week. That was it. We really struggled. That was really the whole reason we lost to the Eagles the first time. We really struggled with blocking. I mean, it was evident on that last drive. Well, on the 5-yard line, were we on the 5-yard line and there was like 3 sacks in a row? You didn't. We fixed that, and I'm excited to see where we go from here. Really am excited to see where we go because if the offense keeps playing the way it is, I honestly think we can give San Francisco right now a run for their money. I don't know what would happen. I think San Francisco still is the better team. I hate to say that they are. They're the more well-rounded team, and they play pretty consistently. But they had that 3-game losing streak. So I look at this team, and nobody wants to face this team right now, and that's a big deal. So I'm excited to see. I want to see it happen on the road. If we get a win this Sunday, I think my confidence is going to get higher in this team. So.
Yeah, I agree. And question from Ray Dean asking Aubrey has to get paid now. He's a stud. Well, actually, Ray, Aubrey is still considered a rookie, right?
Right.
I mean,
Rookie contract, right? Or he was
right,
undrafted, right? Or was he
right.
undrafted? So
He was undrafted rookie.
I don't know if do we give undrafted rookies 4 years? I don't know the semantics on that. I'd have to look, but I think we have him at least 2 years. So I
Yes,
would have to look.
right. We can't even negotiate with them at this point. So
You
we
can't talk.
got him. Yeah, we
Go
got
ahead.
him at least 2 years cheap.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. When you have a rookie on your team, people are like, "Oh, you got to pay him." People were saying that last year about CD. Oh, you need to get him paid. You have to. There are rules involved. We can't just pay someone off a 1-year performance.
Right.
Case in point on that. Now, Jalen Hurts
Micah.
isn't a rookie, but Jalen had one good year. And I don't know if y'all know, but the organization is turning on him. The fans are turning because they paid him based off one good year. They had multiple years, but that one good year with that star-studded team. So yes, Aubrey's fantastic, but we can't pay him yet. And we don't have to worry about him going anywhere. He's not leaving, but we won't be able to stick him, to cut him like we did this year. We cut him before the season and no one picked him up, and we were able to sign him to the 53 man after we were able to do some gymnastics. We will not be doing that this year. He will have to be on the 53 because anyone would love to have him.
Exactly. And just to talk a little bit about the business side of football, when you talk about an undrafted free agent, the rules are a lot different. So they really don't have rights for 4 years, technically. Undrafted rookies sign 3-year contracts.
That's what I thought.
And unlike a drafted guy who after 3 years, you can negotiate with him, with the undrafted guy, that 4th year, he's a restricted free agent. So you can put a tender on him. And assuming he plays the way he is now, he'll get a first round tender. That'll be at about $4 million. And either he can sign it or another team can come in and give us a first to get him.
Right.
So really, Aubrey's tied to this team for 4 years without any negotiating rights.
And that's good news for us.
That's good news for us.
Great news.
Yeah, now going to the second part of your question, talking about Martavis Bryant. I mean, I kind of talked about it a little bit before, the mold of a Mike McCarthy wide receiver. Bryant doesn't really fit that mold. So in my opinion, you probably won't see him play this year. On top of that, he hasn't played football in 3 years. And on top of that, you've got guys like Turpin and Tolbert who are really starting to step up. And you can't make those guys inactive to give Martavis Bryant snaps.
And then
So
you've
you
got
probably-
Brooks. Then you've got Brooks on the practice squad, who's also played in game, played very well. He caught the ball. I mean, Bryant's probably third on the depth chart on the practice squad would be my guess. I mean, second, maybe second, but yeah, I don't like Jeff said, unless he's hurt, I don't see it happening.
Yeah. And Steve Franco saying the kid has a leg, Brandon Aubrey. I wouldn't be surprised if he can break the record one day. We got 4 years to find out, Stephen Franco. At least 3.
I remember go ahead. I was just gonna say, I remember last year every time Mar got up, because I made a hilarious meme a few years before we re-signed Maher last year, and I made him a trash can because it seemed like every time you needed him, he was a failure. And then we signed him last year, and he did great throughout the regular season and really failed. And this year, it's kind of like, at first when we brought him out for that 60, it was a 60, right? I was like, oh, I don't know about this. Oh, I don't know. I was a little nervous, and then he made it, and I'm like, that would have hit from like 65.
Yeah,
he had that kid's got a leg. That's probably the steal that's the best player we probably drafted this season.
Yep, 100%. Steve Franco saying he told us so about Leonard playing, but I mean, we knew he wouldn't do anything because he hadn't been in the team long enough to be able to do anything.
Well, and Stevens, Leonard went there because that's the team that needs him the most. And that's still evident with the way, I mean, they had to put him on the field. Cunningham's running a risk of injury. I mean, he was injured. That's another reason. And then I also saw that Sirianni apparently would send him a picture of them like from the NFC Championship last year and remind him. Sirianni's bizarre, okay? I can't stand that dude. Yeah. It was really nice to see his face all Sunday night. He was so he looked so distraught standing there on the sideline. And then they put that Cry Eagles Cry sign up on great. Live TV. I'm like, this is excellent. So Leonard, I mean, I don't think he picked the wrong team. I mean, because we don't really need him. I mean, we have people even on the practice squad we can bring up. Our biggest issue right now is Hankins. That's the one thing I'm worried about. Hankins getting hurt. I just hope it's not severe. And
we will get to that in a few minutes. We'll hit Jeff's question, then I'll talk about the defensive side of the ball. Jeff says, does it scare you guys that he hadn't missed a kick? I'm nervous because I don't want that first miss to be in a crucial situation. Jeff, you can't think like that. That's thinking on the negative side. The key is playing well. A miss just by percentages is pretty much inevitable. So whenever it comes, you just got to take it and roll with it. You should never let let a game be decided by a field goal anyway. So if he misses a kick and it costs us a game, I would put that just as much on the offense and defense as him missing the kick.
Right. It should never come down to that. I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, maybe we should just hope he misses one sooner rather than later. So I am worried about, a first time kid in a pressure situation of the playoffs, but we'll see how it goes. I'm sorry, Timothy.
Yeah, Spoonie.
That's great, man.
The most punchable face in football. That's what I like to call him.
It's pretty. I mean, there's a few up there with him, but Sirianni, I just can't stand that dude. There's just something about him. Every time I look at him, I get mad. I just don't like him.
All right, guys, let's get back into it. We're at 21 minutes. Try to get to the halfway point, and then we go to the this week's game. So let me give my defensive notes really quick. And first of all, got to start off. These are the wrong ones. These from last week's game. So I will come back to my defensive notes. Live TV is always great. So we've been talking a lot about Aubrey. So let's go ahead and go to our player of the week, which I'm sure you guys can guess was Mr. Brandon Aubrey, who was 5 for 5 on field goals and the first kicker in NFL history to make 259-plus yard field goals in one game. That seems remarkable considering how many great kickers there have been in the NFL. Because I could have sworn a guy like the kicker from the Ravens would have already done something like that because he just booms them.
Isn't that bizarre to think that this undrafted player that no one knew of that played in soccer 2 years ago would be the most talked about player? He's super talked about right now all over the league. People are super jealous of Brandon Aubrey. Kind of hard not to be.
And that also goes back to the talent that we have in evaluating. I know fans like to give Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones a hard time, and Will McClay to an extent. They give them a hard time, but these guys are always finding gems in that undrafted free agent pool. I mean, every year there's a guy coming up that nobody's heard about who's making key contributions in the game. So let's go real quick. Just look at his kicks from last week's game. Just talking about how nonchalant he is in his kicks. I mean, this is the 60-yarder. I mean, right down the middle.
Effortless.
That's the best word to use for that. Completely effortless. Then maybe you got the 59er.
I mean, if you get a good lead, maybe and you go 3 and out and you're at like 65 back, 70. Hell, let him kick it. Got a big enough lead. See what happens.
I definitely think we're going to be in that situation at some point this year where they let him go for the record. I mean,
yeah, and thinking about missing, I read so they got high winds Thursday and Friday in Buffalo. It's supposed to move out by Sunday, but that actually might play into a big factor in his kicking this weekend. We might actually see that, Jeff. It is possible.
Yeah, I agree. If there's any week that he could miss a kick, I definitely think it's going to be this one. Did what Janikowski and Vinatieri couldn't do. Definitely agree. Thank you for joining us, Keystone. I always appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, Stephen Franco. I thought Tucker did it also. I'm with you. Jack Meeker, thank you for joining us, saying he was comfortable at 68 yards. B. Neil Christian saying he watched him in the USFL and the guy was automatic in his kicks. So yeah, all around great game for Aubrey. Once again, we had a lot of different people we could have chosen, but Brandon Aubrey was just the guy that stood out. And I see I don't have my defensive notes on my nice pretty sheet, so I will just give you guys the 3 things that stood out to me. Number 1, looking at the game, Jaron Kearse was in coverage a lot more than he's been in weeks past. Now, I don't know if he's been injured the past couple of weeks, and that's kind of why he's been playing closer to the line of scrimmage, or they finally saw on tape that Donovan Wilson has lost a step, so they decided to put Kearse back in his natural position. But Kearse was out covering A.J. Brown on some reps. He was following the tight end quite a bit on some reps. I think he made a big difference in the outcome of the game by not allowing Goddard to make some of the big plays he made on us last time. So definitely got to give him his respect. Another thing that really stood out, I have a few concerns about the passing defense. I don't want to take anything away from Gilmore's great game, but they were making plays on some 3rd and longs that got hidden by the fact that we made 3 turnovers in the red zone. So that's something definitely want to pay attention to this week, because the Bills come in with a very similar offense to the Eagles with their vertical receivers. And just looking at the game from an all-22 standpoint, they gave away some big plays in the middle of the game, and luckily they didn't come back to bite us because of the turnovers that were created. And the third thing that really stood out to me, Bland was like, you got me before. You're not getting me 2 weeks in a row. He completely shut down whoever was in front of him. It was a sight to see. If you just look at the all-22 and focus on Bland, he was blanketing receivers. And that's why A.J. Brown got so many targets, because Hurts just couldn't go Bland's way because Bland was on top of it. Anything stood out to you, Amanda? Those are kind of my 3 biggest points.
I actually want to touch on one of the things you talked about. One thing with this defense that concerns me when you get to playoff football is that we have a lot of highlight moments that are really strong, like the turnovers and those big stops, even on 4th down, on 3rd down, those big stops. But in the middle of the game, you've got big plays. Teams are taking, are gashing us for big plays. They're getting big yards and able to move down the field. But because of these big splashes, like the 3 turnovers this past week and the big stops, that it's kind of overshadowed and it isn't talked about enough. When you play a team that is more consistent, I am concerned that this defense can succeed. I mean, I know that they can do it intermittently, but I'm worried about the consistency factor because they get gassed easy too. I don't know if you've noticed that, but a lot of players, they get really they get really winded really quickly. I noticed it a few times. Micah was sick, so it wasn't something I was worried about, but Donovan Wilson, after that one strip sack, was it the strip sack? I think Donovan had the strip sack, right? Oh, is Marcus there? Maybe. I think Marcus froze on me. That, or he's really good at playing statue. But I worry about that in general. And we'll go from there, I guess. But, ooh, look, Marcus left me. This is a bad idea. But no, I really worry in general about the direction as to which that this defense can succeed. And I grabbed this on there. But let's see here B. Neal said that I really like to see what we played more physical with the wideouts instead of playing off the line. I agree to a point. It was more man to man. But I am concerned in the future to see what happens, because Stephon doesn't play games like this all the time. I don't know if y'all have noticed that, but he doesn't play like this all the time. There he is.
I had to go to my Plan B computer. My internet just went out.
Oh, no. Well, I was sitting there. I was like, this is a bad idea. It kind of caught me off guard. But no, I was just saying in general that I really do worry. I think Donovan Wilson gets gassed really easy, and I'm still really worried about the safety play. Our safeties are struggling this year. I mean, Jordan Lewis, he's getting better each week. He kind of shuts me up a little bit more. But I'm just worried in general about if this team can consistently shut down big teams over and over. We'll look and see how it goes this week. But we do give up a lot of points, like a lot of yards between the 20s. We give up a ton of yards, and it's overshadowed by the big splash plays that we have.
Yeah, 100%. And I see a lot of people. I see Spoonie saying Mozzie time. Steve Franco saying any word on the injury update. If you have nothing else to add about last week's game, Amanda, we will move ahead to this week's game. And we'll start the show off by going to our storylines, which a lot of you guys are kind of hitting towards. And we have one big storyline for this week.
Storylines.
So the big storyline of this week's game is our starting nose tackle, Jonathan Hankins, has suffered a high ankle sprain, and he'll probably be out for a couple of weeks. The good news about a big defensive tackle is it won't be the usual 6 weeks that you would see from a skill position, but I would be shocked if he misses less than 2 games. Now, in his place, we do have a fairly talented but underwhelming defensive tackle group. We have Neville Gallimore, who's been here forever. We've got our first round pick, Mozzie Smith. And then we also have a guy that we signed a couple of weeks ago on our practice squad, big defensive tackle, Carl Davis from Iowa, who's been kind of a journeyman around the league for the past 8 years. Amanda, why don't you start us off? Let us know how you feel about this tackle group and how you think they'll perform in this week's game.
So just on the Hankins thing, I think Hankins is an unsung hero. He doesn't really get the recognition because his name's not announced a lot. And even still, he's making plays that do end up getting. I mean, we've seen him with big stuff, big run stuffing. I mean, you see it with Swift, and you saw it the week before that with Charbonnet. Neville's been here a long time, and I mean, he's had flashes, but he's not consistent. Mozzie doesn't have the NFL strength or speed. He is super slow off the line. Super slow off the line. That really concerns me. He leaves a second to 2 seconds later than everybody does off the line. And I'm not familiar with the other. My mind just went blank with the other player. I'm going to assume that Neville will start, would be my guess, because I'm sure Dan Quinn sees what everyone else sees, that Mozzie is just not there yet. Not saying it's a bad pick. Just, it takes a second to get acclimated to the NFL speed and the way the NFL works. Everyone thinks football's football. Going from college to the NFL, it's a really big change. I know it doesn't seem like it. I don't play football, but I can tell you that it's very obvious that it's a big, it takes a change. Someone like a wide receiver can come in and it's not that big of a, you don't see the discrepancy as someone like a defensive. The speed is different. So I worry about Mozzie. But I expect Neville to start, and Mozzie will be your rotator. And I would hope that they give him some help at linebacker, would be my guess. Someone behind him to help, because I'm really concerned about the run game, because Zach Moss is no slouch. I mean, he's doing pretty well. In fact, he's got his number. James Cook. Sorry, not Zach Moss. Moss is an Indy. Sorry.
He was at Buffalo last year, though.
Okay, yeah. Well, he's in Indianapolis now. But James Cook. Sorry, Dalvin's little brother. Sorry, but James Cook. He's not. He's got the same numbers. I was looking at it earlier. He's got the same numbers as Tony does. In fact, I think he has less snaps and more yards. I think he's averaging about 0.8 more yards per carry than Tony is. So it's going to be a very run-heavy game, most likely just because of the weather in Buffalo. So I'm really concerned about how this will pick up. We'll see. You are muted, Marcus.
Sorry, I just changed computers.
I saw you changing the bottom square.
The biggest thing that concerns me about the defensive tackle group, and going back to what you said at the beginning of your talk, Hankins has been an unsung hero for this defense. Nobody expected him to come in and give you number 1 defensive tackle snaps at 32 or 33 years old. No. Hankins has played 25 snaps a game, all but 2 games this year. And I mean, he's completely dominating the snaps for the nose tackle room. And he's playing at a Pro Bowl level. What concerns me is not a single defensive tackle we have right now has played more than 25 snaps a game. They're both playing about 10 to 12 snaps each. And of course, Carl Davis hasn't played at all. So my concern is, I think we have the talent between the 3 of them to put together a pretty decent defensive tackle position room. The problem is I don't know what's going to happen when you give one of these guys more than 25 snaps and you rely on them to kind of be the anchor for the room. Because 10 to 15 snaps, I think Neville Gallimore still has it in him. We talked about Mozzie Smith a little bit and how he's slow off the snap. And then Carl Davis, who, while he hasn't played this year, he played very well in New England last year. And he also is a veteran. Again, he's a big, strong guy, extremely long arms. I think he has like 35-inch arms, which is one of the reasons he got drafted so highly. He has the ability to be a good run defender. So I think you'll get quality snaps. The question is, can one of these guys step up and give you consistently good production playing 40% or more of the snaps? Now, if we end up getting up by 14 and we're able to put in a NASCAR package with Golston and Olsen in the inside, then this is a moot point. But if it's a close game and it's in the fourth quarter and you need one of these guys to give you 10 snaps in the fourth, then I have some real concerns.
I mean, who was it? Let's see. Someone said growing pains were a part of the game. Yeah, there you go. Timothy said it, and he's right. It is, but this is a really important game, and I know. I mean, we clinch a playoff berth if we win, which I mean, most of us would assume we're headed that way anyway. But this is where the Eagles really started a huge. Okay, we won. The Eagles were a big game, but if we want to keep where we're at, we need the Eagles to lose, and we have to keep winning. I want to play at home in the playoffs. There is no room for error right now. We need to win. I do think Seattle is going to beat the crap. I don't know. I think they're still really fighting for a spot. They have to win to stay in the playoffs. Yes. I think they're going to give the Eagles a lot more than anyone's anticipating. Even Eagles fans think it's going to be a cakewalk from here. Mm-hmm. We have to win. Because I have a good feeling that the Eagles may very well lose on Sunday. Or Monday. They flexed it to Monday. So yeah. I just hope that this isn't, that's going to be a weakness on that line. When Hankins went down, I mean, we handled it pretty well when he went down. What did he go down to, the second or the third?
Hankins?
Yeah.
It was after halftime.
Was it? Okay. I think it might have been the third. So, but we were already up pretty good then. So we'll see. I just hope that it's not going to come back to haunt us. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I agree with you and Hector. Looking at Seattle the past month, they've been playing with the tenacity they haven't had all year. I mean, the Cowboys were just a better team. The Niners owned them. That's just plain and simple. But they were competitive in that second game. So I think the Eagles are going to have their hands full. They're playing in Seattle, so you got to deal with those elements. You got to deal with their 12th man. I think Geno's going to come back that week.
I was just looking at that. Yeah. I was looking to see his status right now.
Yeah. Kenneth Walker may also be back to running back. So they're going to have a full arsenal of offensive weapons. Their offensive tackle has been injured all year. He's just now starting to come back, get back in the groove of things. So that's going to be an offense that's going to put up 30 points. The question is, can the Eagles keep up with them? Because I think their defense, particularly their secondary, is good enough to hold the Eagles under 30.
Yeah, I think Metcalf is just ready to win. So definitely. I think he's gonna give Slay a run for his money. So
yeah. And Raphael, thank you for joining us. I'm kind of in agreement with you, Raphael. I would almost consider going with Davis also, and then rotating Gallimore and Mozzie in, because again, Davis is a veteran. I've seen him play extended snaps last year with New England. One of those things we got to get out of as fans. Just because a guy's on the practice squad does not mean he's a bad player. Ever since they changed the rules and they allow you to put veterans on the practice squad, now that's just a mechanism to save money. It's not really talent-based anymore, where a guy that's on the practice squad is a guy that can't play in the NFL yet. Yeah. It's really just a holding spot for a veteran who's willing to take less money to have an opportunity to be on the roster. And I think Davis is a perfect example of that because we've had guys come through the practice squad before and come in and play very well. Jackson Smith and Jigba should definitely eat. Jeff Sones, great stat. They haven't beaten Seattle since like 2008. So we definitely got to keep that one in mind.
Yeah, Seattle is just a different beast. I don't want to play Seattle in Seattle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just really and I was just reading too. It says the only reason that Geno didn't go, Pete Carroll says the only reason he didn't go against the Niners was because he could run around and jog around, but he couldn't push off in one direction without pain.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't practice until tomorrow. It's the first practice because they play Monday. So that should give him a pretty good, that's 4 days. I mean, and they have to win to even stay in the playoffs. So, or in the playoff hunt. So,
yeah,
we'll see. And Green Bay lost, which is really who they're battling a spot for. So they really need him to play.
Well, they're battling the Rams too, and the Rams actually, I think the Rams have swept them, so they have to stay a game ahead of the Rams for their 7th spot. So that's another one you got to kind of keep your eye on at the back end of the playoff picture. All right, guys, we're at 42 minutes. We're still going to get out of here in about an hour 15. But let's go ahead and look ahead to this upcoming matchup against the Buffalo Bills. Once again, thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate all the great questions. Appreciate all the great comments. Let's keep them rolling in. For you guys who joined us late, if you haven't done so already, make sure you go to DC4L on Facebook, hit that like button, join the group, join in the dialogue with some great Cowboys fans and some great Cowboys engagement. And also go to the top of the comments, hit that link, go to my YouTube page, hit that subscribe button, and also hit that bell so that you can be up to date for future 5th quarter podcast episodes. So let's go ahead. Let's keep the show moving. You guys know as the show progresses, we like for you guys to be more and more interactive. So now we're going to go into our next segment, which are some of the key matchups in this week's game.
Key matchups.
All right. So before we go to key matchups, we have to start off with the tail of the tape. So you look at this chart and you see that we are very comparable to the Buffalo Bills. Our scoring offense is top 4. They're right at the bottom of the top 10 at 26.8 points per game. That's a little bit misleading because they have quite a few 40-point games in there. They have a couple of 12 and 13-point games in there also. But this offense is more than capable of scoring 35, 40 points at any time. Then you go to the scoring defense side, and you see that we are pretty much even. We're at 17.9 points per game. They're at 18.8. And once again, they have the ability to shut offenses down. Very capable defense, despite the fact that they're dealing with a lot of injuries. And then you go to that bottom chart, and as you can see, we are leading at a plus 10 turnover differential, and Buffalo is at a plus 2. And for those of you who are joining us, if you take how many times the ball has been given up by the offense, by how many times the defense has taken the ball away, the difference gives you a plus or a minus. And if Josh Allen wasn't turning the ball over at such an alarming rate, their turnover differential would be much, much higher. I have to say that. So it's definitely going to be a very competitive matchup. Also, we're going to their home field, so that also gives them a bigger advantage as well. They're used to playing in the elements. We're a dome team. We got to go up north. Sounds like the weather should be pretty good. I saw somebody post a question about that earlier, and
mid-40s.
I apologize. I lost that when I got kicked off this screen. But yeah, mid-40s. They were saying it may be windy. It sounds like those high winds should be gone by Sunday. I think they're expecting 18, 19, 20 mile per hour winds for the rest of this week until Saturday. And then by Sunday, those winds should subside down to a manageable 10 to 12 miles per hour. So it'll affect the ball a little bit, but not to the extent where you can't pass the ball, which is what we were concerned about. Jeff, we all wish Diggs was playing this game. This is the matchup
Yeah.
that I'm sure both brothers have had circled for about 7 or 8 years now.
Oh, look, we have an Eagles fan in the chat.
I don't see the Eagles fan.
Oh, it says you've played your Super Bowl, which I still don't understand how you can call the Cowboys-Eagles game the Super Bowl when we play twice a year. And, it's always the way they have to run back to that. Oh, it's your Super Bowl. You beat us. Dak is 9-4 against you. So I guess we win a lot of Super Bowls. It kind of goes against the theory here. Sorry. But yeah, I just don't get that. And we don't want to play at the link again. They should probably worry about other games that are coming up there before they come to us.
Well, Dennis C., thank you for joining us on the Fifth Quarter podcast. We take any engagement we can get. And while you're there and if you want to continue to come back and troll, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Positive or negative, I'll take any subscriptions I can get. So thank you for joining.
Oh, come on. Let me have fun, Marcus. I like trolling back.
Hey, I don't mind. I don't mind at all. All right, guys, let's get into it. We're going to talk about some of the key matchups in this game. And just looking at the all 22, you guys know the obvious ones, but there are going to be a lot of great matchups inside the trenches in this game. So we'll start off with the first big one. Like Jeff said, we don't have Diggs versus Diggs, but we do have Diggs versus Deron. Deron Bland is playing at a defensive MVP level right now. And he had a slight hiccup, but he started to pick things up. And in my opinion, he's probably getting his second or third toughest matchup of the year in a very talented, very shifty Stephon Diggs. Stephon is one of those wide receivers where he does everything well. Some guys are great route runners. Some guys are vertical threats. Some guys are physical. Stephon Diggs has all three of those. What are you expecting to see in this matchup, Amanda?
I think that Deron has the best person to teach him on the sidelines, helping him. I'm sure he's getting little tips from, from the brother. But Stephon had a really rough game last week, and I know that because he's cost me a couple playoff runs in fantasy football. He had a really rough week, and he's been pretty frustrated. So I know that Stephon wants to have a big game, and I am very concerned with usually when you get a wideout that's as successful as even an AJ Brown as Stephon Diggs and they have a rough game, they usually come back and answer very well the next week. And with Stephon having a rough game last week, I think Deron is up to the challenge. But I like what Raphael just said. I like the idea of Gilmore on Stephon Diggs because I like having that vet that is more familiar with the situation would be my thing. So I think Deron can cover him, but we've seen with DJ Metcalf, we saw the struggle with the big lanky receiver, and that's where Deron struggled. So I'm concerned if he can do it. We'll see. I mean, I think he's probably can. He played great this week, so we'll see. I think that Stephon will definitely get a few big chunk plays off. But also I expect Deron to get a few interceptions because I am willing turnover Josh Allen into existence for this weekend.
So I agree with you guys about Gilmore. Another aspect of that game that you didn't talk about, Gilmore played in the AFC East with New England for several years, had his MVP season there. He's very familiar with Stephon Diggs. So people talk about, and they had the interview with Jerry Jones and Steven talking about, did you go talk to Trayvon to get some tips about Diggs? You don't have to go there because you have a defensive MVP who played against him at least 4 times that I'm sure of, and is probably very familiar with the tricks that he has. Gilmore's a student of the game, so I know he's probably studied Diggs quite a bit. So if he can't cover him, he can definitely give Bland some tips that will help him in his battle with him. Rosario saying, let's see a Bland pick 6 this week since Josh likes to throw to the opposing team. Now, that's another thing. That's another aspect of this matchup that has to be talked about. And that's the frustration level that can happen when Josh Allen throws a bad ball his way or he doesn't throw to him at all. Because if you look at Stephon Diggs, not just all 22, just from a statistics level, it's pretty much like a yo-yo. One week he'll have 120 yards, the next week he'll have 20 yards. So it just goes up and down, and it really depends on how Josh Allen is performing. And a couple of bad throws, and you might see a completely different ball game from Stephon Diggs, which would give Deron Bland the advantage.
Yeah, and Josh is real turnover prone in the red zone. It's something that's not talked about all the time, but that is his kryptonite. Is he
Yes.
makes crazy decisions in the red zone. His legs are good, but when it's like he gets tunnel vision when he's in the red zone. So I do expect, I mean, we are one of the best teams in the league when it comes to taking the ball away. So I do expect a few this week. And if we can do that early, I think that will sing the tune of this game because Josh gets easily shaken. And if we can shake Josh Allen, this game should be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Let's keep the show going. We'll talk about another one of the key matchups. And this is another really good one. And that is Tyler Smith versus Ed Oliver. Now, for you guys who follow the show for the past month, Tyler Smith's matchup has been a key matchup every week. The past 3 weeks, he's been going against big physical defensive tackles. It's been almost like a Godzilla versus Mothra inside physical smash mouth. He's getting a different element this week. Ed Oliver is one of those small, shifty, yet powerful defensive tackles who wins more off his explosiveness as he does with his power. So Tyler Smith's going to see something he hasn't seen in probably 2 months from a guy like Ed Oliver. So definitely a matchup that you got to pay attention to on the inside. Amanda, are you familiar with Ed Oliver at all?
To a degree, I know he's a smaller guy. I don't follow as much AFC as I should. I'm big into the NFC, and I can tell you a ton about it. But I will admit I am not as familiar with Ed Oliver as you are.
Yeah, he got a lot of comparisons to the defensive tackle with the Rams when he was coming out of college. 6'1", about 287. I believe he ran like a 4.8 and a 40. But he's a very strong guy for his size. He uses leverage well. And I think this is going to give Tyler Smith problems because Tyler Smith has an issue with holding that's kind of been hidden the past couple of weeks because he's been going against big defensive tackles. So he can it's been kind of a wrestling match anyway. I think those holes are going to be a little bit more evident when you're dealing with a small guy like Ed Oliver. So I have some big concerns about holding penalties on Tyler Smith this week, and also just getting beat off the line on some obvious pass downs.
That was my concern with Tyler Smith when we took him. A lot of people, and he's made me eat my words a few times.
Me too.
He's been great, but it's still there. I know people hate to hear it, but that is still Tyler Smith's problem. He draws penalties, and it's always the same thing. It's the holds, and I hope that he can. It's the crucial holds that really kill us. When we really can't take a penalty, and it always seems that they call holding on us there. Not that Micah Parsons ever draws a hold. Apparently, that's not possible. So maybe we'll get those refs. But it is. I hope to see Tyler succeed. He's playing at an all-pro level this year. He has been amazing. And with him and Tyron on the outside, the whole left side really doesn't bother me much anymore. It's the right side that bugs me. I'm always worried about the right side.
Jeff still going back to his anger in that draft, saying Tyler Smith still is a pick we could have gotten in the second round. I won't dwell on that anymore, Jeff. Right now, my only issue is Schoonmaker. That's the second round pick I'm concerning myself with. So I'm
done nothing, and
I'm
now
Ferguson.
And now Ferguson has made it basically so he's not going to be much of anything.
Yep.
I mean, it's frustrating to think back to who was still available in the second when we took Schoonmaker that we didn't take. So
yeah. So many different options we could have gone with instead of him. All right, so we'll keep the show moving along. Um, Be Neil Christian, as we talk about Schoonmaker, saying, I would like to see us go more two sets to help Tyler and Tyron Smith with Ed Oliver. So Ed Oliver is a defensive tackle. So having a two tight end set won't really help Tyler Smith in that matchup. But we talk about our next key matchup, and that is Tyron Smith versus the emerging Leonard Floyd, who seems like he's been around the league forever, and now he's making another resurgence, coming back. He has 9.5 sacks for the year. He's pretty much put Von Miller on the bench. So he's having an overall great season so far this year. And I'm watching this matchup because once again, Leonard Floyd's one of those crafty, sneaky, athletic defensive ends who just has a knack for making big plays against talented tackles. He's been doing it all year. Amanda, you familiar with Leonard Floyd at all?
I am. And I am not concerned with Tyron Smith going up against him. I know Leonard can give people problems, but Tyron's playing at a level right now. You'd think that kid was a rookie again. He is playing exceptionally well right now. And I am not worried about Tyron Smith unless he gets hurt. So I'm not worried about this matchup at all. Are you? Are you really worried about it? I'm not worried about this matchup at all. I'm right there with Jeff. Tyron's gonna shut him. He ain't doing nothing.
I won't discredit him like that. I'm not concerned about the matchup, but it's definitely one you got to keep your eye on just because looking at the tape, Leonard Floyd has been beating some good tackles this year for sacks. So Tyron's playing at an amazing level. I give him that. But Leonard Floyd's been having a sneaky good year against some good tackles. Just looking at the past couple of games. Raphael saying Tyron struggles with speed rushes, but I think he will control Floyd. I think he will also, but I just wanted to put it out there. Not only because Floyd's having such a good year, but also because I know people who don't watch Buffalo, they're going to be looking for Von Miller. And I'm letting you guys know, you're not going to see much of Von Miller in this game. Not only because of the off the field issues that he has legally, but because Leonard Floyd is playing that well that he's just not getting opportunities like fans would expect him to.
I don't think Vaughn's turned himself into Dallas yet, so maybe we should just take an officer with us up there.
Yeah, that's true.
We can solve the problem. No more worries.
I won't talk about the Buffalo situation, but I'm shocked he's still able to play in a game right now, considering the allegations that he has.
Amen to that.
But that's the nature of the NFL. It's all about what you can do on the field for
money.
Certain players. And money.
Money, honey.
Yeah. Raphael saying I'm concerned about Von Miller against Steele. Now, I don't have this as a key matchup, but former first round pick Greg Rousseau is having a decent year also. He's kind of their run stopping defensive end, kind of like what we use with DeMarcus Lawrence. So I doubt you're going to see Von Miller play in that spot. Plain and simple, Von Miller's lost a step.
Yeah,
he's not the guy that you guys think about in Denver or his first year in Buffalo when they signed him to that extremely overinflated contract.
The one I'm so glad we didn't give the man.
Yes.
Whew.
That's one of those things that concerns me when I see our fan base get hyped up about getting a name that we all recognize, because those names we all recognize, they may give you one or two games and we'll say, oh, look how he played this game. We should have signed him. Once you get to year 2 and year 3 of that contract and he's making $23 million and he's playing 20% of snaps, that's when your problems come in. And we definitely dodged the bullet on that one. Mm-hmm. And Randy Gregory, but that's a story for the offseason.
I still can't believe the Niners picked him up.
Yep.
Okay.
I can't either. All right. We'll go to our last two key matchups in this game, and both of them are tight end related because I feel like the tight ends are definitely going to be
our problem.
be a problem on both sides of the
Mhm.
ball. Spoonie points out AJ Espinosa is solid. Espinosa got hurt last week, Spoonie, so he will not be playing this week. If not, I would have had him as one of my key matchups, along with Leonard Floyd. I'd have probably had like a 1A, 1B right here.
My thing is Kincaid and Knox is a really good duo, and
Yeah.
Knox is back now, so
But
on injuries, we got lucky for the week after this game. We got really lucky, and I don't wish injury on anybody, but for any position to go down, they are down 3 starting linemen now in Miami, so we got super lucky on a different note.
So I could have put, and Jeff, thank you for saying that, and Amanda, you said it too. I could have put Kincaid and Knox up here. Kincaid got hurt last week, and he missed the week before with, I believe, was a shoulder injury, and they say he re-aggravated it in last week's game, and they're calling him day to day. But I have some doubts about whether or not we see Dalton Kincaid in this week's game, which is a good thing for us. But this is still nonetheless a very good matchup because Dawson Knox, former Ole Miss Rebel hotty toddy, is a very capable tight end when it comes to route running. And unlike Dalton Kincaid, who's more of a finesse move tight end, Dawson Knox plays kind of like a basketball player. He's more of a positional guy. He's gonna box you out. He's gonna make those plays. Not really a physical guy, but he's just more of a maneuver type guy. And I think it's going to be a great matchup with him and Jaron Kearse, who, like I said earlier in the show, has started playing more in the secondary in a coverage role. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this matchup, particularly in the red zone, because Josh Allen loves targeting Dawson Knox when they get inside the red zone. Amanda, what do you think about this matchup?
So I love Dawson Knox. I've drafted him many years. He's had a really off year, but he has really good hands. He has really strong hands. So I'm excited. I think J. Ron's up to the task. But I also like Wanye Thomas on this position. I wouldn't mind seeing Wanye. Oh, well, look, see, someone's with me. I would like to see Wanye just because of the speed aspect, because Dawson's pretty fast. People don't realize Dawson's a pretty fast guy. So we'll see. I think J-Ron can do it. And like you said, he's been used a lot more in coverage lately. But I don't know. Dawson concerns me because really, if you watch our team, that's where when opposing offenses are in bad situations against our defense, they don't go deep. They throw to the middle of the field. They go to the middle of our defense between the linebackers and your secondary. And Dawson's really good at getting behind your linebacker. So we'll see. I hope it's okay. I do expect probably 50 yards from Dawson easy. I didn't know Dalton had went down again either. I didn't know Micah Hyde was hurt either. I just happened to look at it. So
he's out for this game.
So that's going to be beneficial for us. We'll see. But Knox is definitely going to be the player. I'm not worried about Stephon and Gabe Davis as much as I am the tight end position here.
I agree. And I've seen some X factors come up, and I will hit on X factors in a minute. I see a couple of people kind of putting the same one in there. Jeff saying, can we please see some Izzy? I doubt we see him this week, but hopefully we do see him get more snaps in the future.
I think he was dressed last week, wasn't he? I think
he was dressed last week. And kind of like you and Raphael both said, One-Way Thomas, this will be a good game to see him come out there. But I think Kearse is more than capable of taking on this challenge also. So I'm definitely looking forward to this one. At his best, you can make some Travis Kelce comparisons with Knox, more so than Jake Ferguson, but not taking anything away from Jake Ferguson. And kind of what you just talked about, Amanda, the tight ends are going to be a major component of this week's game. So now we go to the other side of the ball, and we talk about Jake Ferguson, who's had several very good games going against Jordan Poyer, the safety for the Buffalo Bills. Normally, this would be Micah Hyde right here, but Micah Hyde got hurt last week, and Jordan Poyer has to fill in that role. And by the way, Travis Kelce put it on Poyer last week, so I'm hoping Ferguson can continue that trend. And in his place, a guy that a lot of Cowboys fans love that I did not like, Taylor Rapp, former second-round pick for the Rams, is now a Buffalo Bill, and he's going to be starting this week's game in place of Micah Hyde for you guys who keep up with stuff like that.
Jake's 6'5", right? Isn't Jake Ferguson 6'5"? Well,
Yeah,
Jordan, that's going to be a big advantage for him because Jordan's 6 foot. So he's got the height on him. Yes, he will. He's hurdled everybody lately. Jake's got ups. It's pretty impressive to watch.
Yeah.
And he's really got some swag going for him right now. Jake's really, this is going to be a really good matchup. Jordan's fine, but there's something about Jake Ferguson right now that I honestly think maybe that second round pick with Schoonmaker pissed him off because he's like, why'd you take, you didn't need anybody. I'm right here. Because he's taking snaps from people. Schoon's not seeing the field because Jake's succeeding.
Right.
Jake's playing extremely well, and the height alone over Jordan is going to be a big deal. And I expect if it is windy and it's going to be chilly, I think that this is going to be a really good matchup. I think Jake's probably going to go over 100 this week. That's my prediction for Jake because it's going to be a big deal for him. And he just keeps every week he's getting better and better. So. And we need that connection because everybody knows that a tight end is the safety net for any quarterback. In bad situations, you want a tight end that can go up and get the ball. And Jake will. Jake is not afraid of anybody. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this matchup. And I think we're going to see more elevation from Jake Ferguson. I think he's just going to look better.
Yep. Yeah. And another thing I like about this matchup, Micah Hyde is more of an actual defender. Poyer's more of a zone guy. You put him in a zone, he's a very smart guy. He knows how to read and react. But now he has to take on the task of trying to mirror Jake Ferguson coming off the snap. And one of the reasons, and I remember him very well coming out of Oregon State, very average athleticism guy, 4'5", 30-inch vertical, 6 feet tall. The reason they moved him to safety is because they liked his intangibles, but his athletic traits were not good enough to carry receivers. So now you're putting him in a position where he has to carry a big physical tight end. And I think it's going to be a major problem. The other thing I noticed watching the game last week, Poyer got beat so bad that they started putting their starting cornerback on Kelce to try to help slow him down. Now, when you do that, then now you're giving advantages to CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks because they put Poyer in a zone position. They're bringing their cornerback inside. So now they have to put their slot corner on the outside. So going to be some chess pieces to pay attention to. I think his name is Christian Benford, the starting corner for the Buffalo Bills. So if you start to see, I think his number is 40 or 47. He has an ugly number for a corner. Just you see an ugly number that's playing corner, that's probably him. So if you start to see that number on the inside, start paying attention to that outside matchup because you know you're going to get one of our top receivers against probably their number 4 corner because Tre'Davious White is out for the year and their first-round pick, Kyer Elam, is in the doghouse. So you might be getting their 5th corner on the outside. So a lot of moving parts to pay attention to just based solely off of this matchup. And hopefully Dak can find those mismatches like he's been doing the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, Dak's really excelling. And people always like to say he doesn't read the field, but that is so not true. Dak is going through every progression. I mean, he's hitting players that, normally you would say Dak didn't hit, but he's going through his reads perfectly fine. So offensively, this team is consistent now. Defensively is what we're not consistent with. We are not providing consistency. And we saw it, what was it, against Seattle? That was a terrible game for the defense. I'm just hoping it was from being tired. A lot of games in 12 days.
Lizabelle Chantel, thank you for joining us. Looks like a new name. So appreciate you tuning in. B. Neil Christensen making a point saying, "Did you see the tight ends coach telling him to stop hurdling people?" I don't think he'll stop doing it, but thank you for giving your suggestion as tight end coach.
I'm sure it's probably just because, when you go up that high, you got to worry people are going to land wrong, something bad happens. I'm sure it's probably we don't want Jake to get hurt. I'm sure that's probably what it is, but I don't think Jake's going to listen.
Yeah. So I see in the comments we have a lot of people putting X factors up. So that was a new segment I kind of threw in there a little bit last week, and I see it starting to pick up some steam. So I'll start to implement that more and more into each week's show. So thank you guys for attaching onto that and letting me know that you guys like doing X factors. So I'll make the nice transition screen for it. So we don't have it this week, but I do have some X factors that we can pay attention to, and then we'll move on to our over unders. The first X factor, we talked about this in the storylines, our nose tackles. I feel like because of the nature of the game being in Buffalo, they're going to try to make it a physical game. James Cook is a fairly talented running back. They're going to try to run the ball. So if our defensive tackles don't hold up and they start letting Buffalo get rushing opportunities, that's going to make that bootleg by Josh Allen even more deadly. So we have to have our nose tackle step up to help maintain that running attack, to keep the ball in Josh Allen's hands in front of us where he makes the most turnovers. Anything to add to that one, Amanda?
No, I think that's the best thing for it. I think you're right on. Spot on.
Okay. Second X factor, just talked about Josh Allen. The biggest X factor in the league.
Which Josh Allen shows up.
Exactly. Are you going to get borderline all-pro Josh Allen, which every media outlet wants to name as the second best quarterback in the NFL? Or are you going to get the Josh Allen who has the worst red zone turnover percentage in the NFL by a wide margin, like Amanda pointed out in the show, and a guy who has, I believe, 12 interceptions and 5 fumbles, right behind Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
So which one are you going to get? That is a major part of the wins and losses by this team, and a major part of the outcome of this week's game. And I got a couple of people pointing some out. Jeff said Latavius Murray. I could definitely see that one going back to the defensive tackles. Facebook user, I did actually have the wind as one of my X factors, but I deleted it when I looked up the weather forecast, and it sounds like the wind shouldn't be a factor. And then we had a couple of people who also put James Davis, which I also have as my third X factor in this game. James Davis has not been providing any stats the past couple of weeks, but we know what he can do when he's on. He's kind of like a better version of Michael Gallup. His problem's not bad plays, it's just inconsistent plays. What do you think about? You brought up Gabe Davis early in the show, Amanda. What do you think about him?
I really like Gabe Davis, but he's so many people don't really know who he is just because Stephon Diggs is the star of the show there. I mean, a lot of people. I like to look at your wide receiver 2 is one of my favorite positions in football, and I know it sounds silly, but it's just because there's really, really good players out there that don't get the recognition simply because they're shadowed by a better player. So Gabe Davis is really good, but consistency. And I was literally thinking it when you said he's like Michael Gallup, because that was exactly where my brain went. That's who Gabe Davis reminds me a lot of. But when he's on, though, he is on. I mean, when he's doing well, he puts up big numbers.
Right.
And it's usually because Stephon's having a bad game. So we'll see. I think Gabe's a big concern for me when it comes to, because they like to run him out of the slot. And I'm worried about Jordan Lewis and his coverage. So that's my concern is with Gabe, depending on who's on him. I still think that Bland may end up on Gabe. That's my guess. It depends on the way, because Buffalo has 2 different strategies when you watch them offensively. So it really depends what strategy they bring out. You can tell when they're going to force the ball over to Stephon, and then you can tell when they're going to let the run game open up their passing game. And their run game is pretty good. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But it's all about which Gabe shows up. And I hope that the Josh Allen that's really loosey-goosey with the ball shows up, because that's the Josh Allen we need. And someone said the wind. We got really lucky with the weather.
Yeah.
The fact that it's, mid-December and it's going to be in the 40s in Buffalo, we are super, super lucky, because it could be much worse. I was worried about weather when this game came up on the schedule. I was worried about the snow. I do not want to play in the snow. We're from Texas. We don't have snow down here. So, I mean, it does occasionally. We usually get ice. So we're lucky. We'll see how it goes.
So before we move on, let me just give you guys the statistics for Gabe Davis the past 5 games to show you the definition of inconsistency. Last week he had 0 yards. The week before he had 105 yards. The week before that he had 65 yards. Then he had 0 yards. Then he had 87. So the guy can be a game breaker, or the guy can be non-existent. That's the definition of an X factor right there. You just don't know what you're gonna get. He could be eliminated, or he could be the MVP of the game. So definitely a great job, everybody who pointed out Gabe Davis. Probably the biggest X factor in the game behind Josh Allen, because Josh Allen gives you good or bad. Gabe Davis gives you good or nothing. So another question while we're talking about the receiver position,
Shakir.
Spoonie asked a question about Shakir, who's their rookie, who's kind of started to take over that slot position. For me, Spoonie, Shakir's just a big play guy. He doesn't give you a lot in terms of the flow of the game. He may make one catch for 20 or 30 yards. Then you pretty much don't hear about him the rest of the game. He's kind of a one-trick pony at this point of his career. He's going to give you that 9 route. If you let him get behind the defense, he'll take advantage of it. But once he does it one time, that's pretty much all you hear from him.
It's similar to Hyatt in New York right now. That's kind of the position he's playing. Shakir's playing a very similar position to that.
Right. I would also compare him to the receiver we just faced last week with Philadelphia, their number 3 receiver.
Zacchaeus, right?
Zacchaeus. Yeah. Kind of one of those guys, kind of a one-trick pony. He's not going to give you a lot, but he's going to give you one big play if you give him opportunity.
Yeah.
Jeff giving us one more X factor, saying, I'm assuming you mean complacency, our team getting caught up in their success. I could definitely see that one also. All right. That's the last X factor I have. So, Amanda, did you want to do a giveaway this week?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, so
it's a mystery.
So we have a mystery giveaway for you guys. Give me 1 second. Go ahead, Amanda.
Oh, well, no, I'm just saying so most of y'all know we love giving stuff away. We love just putting stuff out there for the fans. It's something we appreciate and love. And just be prepared. Shipping right now is an absolute disaster. Yeah. So I will keep up with you and let you know when it's shipped, and I will watch tracking like a hawk. But I'm just warning you that tracking is an absolute disaster right now, because some things will leave. Like I have one thing that left Texas 3 days ago and still hasn't been scanned in its destination. It's just that time of year. But yeah, so we love putting stuff out there. Join the group. We have giveaways that run all the time. Our Patreon, we can do giveaways. So this is a mystery. It's I don't know what I'm going to send out yet. I've got several things to choose from. So we'll get with you. But I appreciate y'all all being here. And Marcus, we appreciate you as always. So good luck to everybody. And whoever wins, please message me.
Yeah. And also, before we start, I want to say thank you, Amanda, publicly, because I did not expect to get anything. And I was fortunate enough to receive in the mail a very lovely gift from the DC4L Admit team. Got a signed Trayvon Diggs jersey. So probably after Thanksgiving, you guys are going to see that hanging up back here in a nice, lovely case so they can be on full display every week. Just got to wait and get my case set up and all that stuff. So publicly, thank you, Amanda. I really appreciate it.
Me and Tanya really we snuck that right on by everyone. We didn't let nobody know. We worked. Me and Tanya were so grateful to be able to do that for everybody, and we just appreciate you being a part of the team and hosting. And we're just grateful. Like I said, we love doing stuff for our people, and we're super grateful for everyone here. So
now I want to give you guys a caveat: the surprise gift will not be an autographed Trayvon Diggs jersey, but it will definitely be nice, and it does come from the heart as a thank you to you guys for all that you do to keep the DC4L and Fifth Quarter podcast group growing. All right, guys. So everybody who's made a comment tonight has been entered into the drawing. If it's a non-Cowboys fan, we will do a redrawing. And also, make sure you guys, if you haven't done so already, join the DC4L group. Reach out to Amanda if you're the winner, and she will coordinate getting that prize to you. So I'm about to hit this button, and we will see who is the winner of the mystery Cowboys gift. Hector Rosario, congratulations. You are the winner of the gift. Make sure that you reach out to Amanda Foster so that she can get your address and she can get that in the mail. And we'll be sure to keep in touch with you to let you know when it comes. All we ask from you is whatever you get, take a picture of it, send it to us. And if you're in the DC4L group, also post it in there as well, just so people can see all the great things that they give away. So before we go to the last segment of the show, Amanda, do you want to talk a little bit about the group that you have where people can win prizes?
oh, the Patreon.
Patreon, yes.
Sure. So I see a bunch of people that are in the chat that are in there, that are in the group. And you know, as long as you join in to one of the tiers and you're a paying member on our Patreon, I'll go ahead, and as long as you join, you can go ahead and get up into the 20 days of giveaways. Usually we do 12 days of Christmas giveaways. And lately I've been really like funny and I've been rhyming. So I think we're on the third day or third and fourth day. I don't remember. I miss days sometimes. So I just make it multiple people win. But so you can join. It's $5.99 a month for the lowest tier, and it's $10.99 a month for the top tier. We've got a pair of game used pants that are going up in the 20 days of giveaways, signed memorabilia, signed jerseys, t-shirts, DC4L merch, a little bit of everything. We run all all throughout the whole year. It's not season to season. You can win anything. We've given away tickets. We've given away a ton of stuff. It's something we started on Facebook, and we outgrew the Facebook subscription platform. So we moved over to Patreon, which is very well known for most content creators on YouTube. You can download the app. All you have to do is comment on any of the posts. I give stuff away every week. And everybody knows me. I'm always there talking to y'all. You can add me on Facebook. I love talking to people, and it's just something that I'm really blessed to get to do. We have a bunch of different, like all of our authorized sellers. So anything you see for sale in DC4L has been vetted and verified, so you don't have to worry. Facebook user, you just have to give permission to StreamYard to have your name, just so you know. That's why it says Facebook user. You just have to give permission. But so where was I at with that? Everything's great. DC4L is awesome, and you can join the Patreon and check it out. You'll see me there. There are still, I think we're on day 4. I started on the 9th, so day 4. It's a contest every day, and it will run 20 days long. I am giving something away every day for the next 17 days. So all you have to do is join and comment. Chris won. Hector's in there, Rachel's in there, Sydney's in there, everybody's in. Come check it out. It's $5.99 a month. You won't miss out. We give away all sorts of stuff. You get extra entries in certain contests that we run in DC4L. And then, of course, we even give away stuff on the DC4L page. Oh, and Neil's in there too. So a lot of my subscribers are in there. So I'd love to see you guys. It'd be great. 4th and 5th. See, I'm on the 4th and 5th. And they can tell you that I've been rhyming lately. I've been trying to make things rhyme. I don't know if they've caught on to that yet, but I was just having some fun with it because I have to ask a different question every day. And sometimes I get It's like I've been doing this 3 years. It's like, what do I ask today that I haven't asked before? So I try to make it funny and make it rhyme. So even though it's the same question as maybe a year ago, it still works. All you have to do is comment the answer to the question and you're entered to win. And Rachel, she said, I've won several things. We do our best. We just like giving stuff out, y'all.
Right. And keep that in mind. Patreon is a great way to win some great prizes, be some great Cowboys fans. If you can't afford to do the Patreon right now, once you get your funds up, be sure to join that. But in the meantime, you can still join the DC4L Facebook group. They do giveaways in there as well. They have contests. So make sure if you haven't done so already, you guys join those DC4L groups to stay in the know of our Cowboys news and win some great stuff.
Oh, yeah, we just gave away a huge custom made wreath. Tanya had it made. It's a big Cowboys wreath. We just gave that away last week on the DC for L page. And that's a public page. So we post everything into the group, but the group is private. It stays private. So only Cowboys fans gets in. You go to some of these groups and it's like overran with other people, other teams fans, which makes no sense because you're just being trolled when you're talking Cowboys. We don't do that. So if you want to share stuff, you can go to our page. We post a lot of similar content, so you can share stuff from there, but you get the privacy and the, inclusive feeling in the group. So we give away stuff everywhere. And I'll make sure Marcus has stuff to give away even when I'm not here too. So
yeah. And for you guys who are concerned, when someone tries to join the group, we do check their Facebook pages. We do look for a Cowboys jersey or another team's jersey. We don't just blindly let someone join just because they check a box that says I'm a Cowboys fan. We do our due diligence. All right, guys, we're at the last segment of the show. The views are steadily at the same rate, so thank you guys for sticking with us. Last segment, want you guys to stay interactive, so we're going to go to our over-unders, where I will give you guys some statistics, and you guys tell me whether or not you think that player will go over or under that statistic.
Over under.
So you're going to see a lot of familiar names here. We talked about quite a few of these already. Talking about our X factor, Josh Allen, and one of the things that makes him an X factor is his rushing ability. Big physical quarterback who is capable of getting 100 yards in any game. Pretty much took over that Chiefs game last week with his legs, helped them to a big victory. Over under 40 yards rushing for Josh Allen in this week's game. Over under 40 yards rushing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Amanda, what do you got? Over under 40 yards rushing, Josh Allen.
Well, I'm just going to look at the history of this defense, and I'm going to look at what we did last week to Jalen Hurts, and I'm going to say under.
Okay. Looks like everybody's going under in the comments as well, based off the history of our defense. I think I would have to agree with you, you guys. I do think he has a couple of key first down runs. I think he does get quite a few rushing yards. I don't think he's going to go over 40 yards rushing on this defense, though. I think we're going to have a spy on him, similar to how we played Jalen Hurts last week. Marquise Bell and Damone Clark did a great job of spying him, along with Donovan Wilson. Now, Josh Allen's a different type of guy. He's a little bit bigger than some of these linebackers we have, but I think they're still able to get the job done. And we got B. Neal Christian, Rachel Neans going over. Everybody else is pretty much going under. All right, next statistic. We're going to keep it in that running game because we talked about this in our X factors. James Cook is a sneaky good running back.
Mm-hmm.
We're dealing with a major injury in our front four with our nose tackle. So there could be some possible running lanes. And James Cook is the type of back. He's not going to give you 20 carries, but he can give you 2 or 3 very explosive runs to make that stat sheet fill up quickly. So over under 50 yards rushing for James Cook this week. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Over under 50 yards rushing. This one looks like it's kind of going either or. Got an under, got an over, got an under, got an over. Amanda, what do you think about this? An over under 50 yards rushing.
Over strictly because Hankins is injured. I would have went the other way if Hankins was playing the game, but I'm saying over
Yeah.
because that's going to be. I'm really concerned about their run game. And it's just because I mean, when it's cold, you can throw the ball, yes, but running really, it's just something Buffalo runs. They use the run to open up the pass. I am very concerned about James Cook. I got his name wrong earlier, but this it didn't. I mean, it's the player in itself that I'm worried. I think he's going to get around 75 to 100.
Yeah, I hate to agree, but I'm right there with you. I think he breaks one run for about 20 yards or so just because he's gonna find a crease and he's gonna hit it and take advantage of it. I think he goes over also. I don't think he has one of those 15, 20 carry games. I think he's kind of like a Tony Pollard. He's gonna give you 10 to 12 carries. I think he's gonna break one long one, then the rest of them are gonna be kind of negligible 2 to 3 yard runs. So I'm going over as well. Jeff saying he's more concerned about Murray's physical style of running. I
Meh.
mean, Murray ran a 4.3 also in his prime, but his prime was about 10 years ago. So I'm not really as concerned about Latavius Murray as I am about James Cook and his explosiveness right now. All right, we got two more over unders I want to talk about. This one is going back to the matchup that we talked about before, the major key matchup. So Stephon Diggs, 70 yards receiving against either Deron Bland or Stephon Gilmore, whichever one you think's gonna be covering him. I think we know Josh Allen should be targeting him quite a bit this week's game, primetime game. Diggs is he's gonna want to show up his brother, even though his brother's not playing. And Diggs is one of those squeaky wheel type receivers who does not mind letting his emotions and his opinions be known to the
Mhm.
coaching staff and the quarterback. So I think the targets are gonna come in bunches. Over under 70 yards. Amanda, what you got?
Oh, well. My
Jeff saying
fantasy
garbage time like it's gonna be a
look,
blowout.
I don't think there's gonna be a blowout. I would love to think that. I just can't get behind a blowout. I I don't even wanna answer this question. My fantasy team wants me to say over. I want to say over, but I'm thinking about 65. I won't go push because I'm not allowed to because Marcus gets on me.
Yeah.
But I'll say about 65. I wouldn't even be surprised, honestly, if we hold him because Duran, after he got showed up, he's really stood out. This last week was impressive.
Uh-huh.
So if he can play like he did last week, then I mean 50 maybe. But I'm gonna say right around 65.
We do have two cop out answers in the comments, Amanda. So if you did, you wouldn't be the only one. Chris Warmsley right at 70. Hector saying exactly 70. Everybody else pretty much saying over. I think it's gonna be over also, only because I think it's gonna be a lot of targets this game. I think he gets 12 targets, and I feel like he's gonna take advantage of one or two just because he's a big play guy. But I think that also means we get an interception as well because I don't think he can break away from a Deron Bland if Deron Bland's guarding him. And if they're close, that ball is as much Bland's as it is Diggs. So I think if you get 12 to 15 targets, Bland's going to come down with one of those.
You think he
And,
takes one to the house?
uh, taking one to the house, that I don't know because most of Allen's interceptions are usually deep. Well, they're in the red zone for one, but when they're in the red zone, when they're not in the red zone, they're usually on deep passes.
Yeah.
And Bland is really good at breaking on out routes and stuff like that and kind of taking advantage of guys being turned around. Now, if he can catch one in the red zone and take it back 100 yards, I say yes. But
Ooh.
that's very hard to do. And outside of that, I don't think, even though Allen throws a lot of interceptions, he's not known for throwing the out route or comeback interceptions that Bland has been taking back. So I'm definitely expecting an interception. but I think Diggs gets about 75, 80 yards on him. Facebook user with a 98-yard pick six.
Well, that'd be fancy. wouldn't it? Man, in their house too.
Yeah. Jeff is saying, what do you call a blowout in this game? I mean, I think what we did to the Eagles, 20
Yeah.
point game. And it can happen because Josh Allen can make several turnovers and put them in a hole.
Yeah, Josh doesn't play well from behind.
Yeah.
Especially when he makes a mistake, Josh gets really into his head. He gets in his head. And that's why you see the mistakes pile on. So he makes a mistake. He's not like a Dak did last week. We got that strip with the fumble, and then Dak came back and just put his foot on the gas and kept going.
Yeah.
He wasn't pulled back. Josh Allen is not really that guy. He can. I'm not saying he hasn't, because there's examples that you can show me, and I could even point out certain games where he has come from behind, but that is not a Josh Allen. It's not indicative of Josh Allen. So I think one big mistake, and this game could easily get going.
Yeah. I mean, I could point out some games where they were up 20 and lost because of
Uh-huh.
that. So you never know what you get with Josh Allen.
Amen to that.
Question: You think we may get the Earl Thomas come get me if it's a bad game for Diggs?
The Stephon Diggs over there on the sideline.
You know how Earl Thomas came and
Came
found,
over in Seattle and said, "Come get me."
come get me.
To Jason Garrett, wasn't it? Wasn't it to
Yeah.
Jason Garrett?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
I just thought about that when I saw
Stephon-
Spoonie's comment.
Okay. I just want to say, okay, well, Spoonie, look, I have been on that train. I have been the driver. Okay, I've been the captain of the get Stephon Diggs to this team. But the issue is it's all going to – that Gallup contract, it's just another notch in the belt of reasons I don't think we can. And if you look at Stephon Diggs' contract, I don't think that they can. I think they're stuck with him another year. I don't think we can take Stephon Diggs in 2024. What was it, over the cap? I think it's like the dead money is like ridiculous because I've looked into it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
It's pretty bad, isn't it? I thought it was pretty rough.
It's $31 million
Yeah.
for next year in dead cap.
I thought so.
I'm trying to look and see if what's guaranteed. His salary for 2024 fully guarantees in March. It doesn't have a specific date. So if they traded him before his base salary guaranteed, if they don't mind losing $5 or $6 million, that is an option. But if he goes, and my guess is probably fifth day of the league year. That's usually kind of the common contract terminology.
But what are you going to give somebody for a Stephon Diggs? I mean, we draft so well. Is it even worth the draft capital? I expect them to cut him. And that's how, if we're going to get Stephon Diggs, he's going to have to be cut. And then he's just going to choose to sign with us. That's my personal opinion. I'm not a, mind reader, but that would be my guess. The only way Stephon is a Cowboy is because he gets cut and then comes here and takes a significantly lower contract because he wants to play with his brother.
I agree.
Would be my guess. So
I agree 100%. And
the
also,
money is just too much.
You got to remember he'll be 31 next year. Also, now wide receivers. I know this is a passing lead, but 31 in the NFL is still 31, regardless of age, except for a quarterback. So we talked about this earlier in the show with Von Miller. Do you want to take on $20 million a year for a 32, 33, 34-year-old wide receiver?
No.
Just because he's a name that we recognize and he had a couple of good games in years past.
Yeah, I like Stephon Diggs. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to see CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and Stephon Diggs. That's a three-headed monster nobody wants nothing to do with, okay? But is it feasible? I don't think that's going to be. I mean, we can sit here and, pinch numbers and talk about it. That's just not – it's kind of like the DeAndre Hopkins situation last year. It's just probably not going to happen.
Right. I agree 100%. And preseason, off-season talk, if there's a wide receiver, is not a household name type guy, but if there's a team that I would be looking at to get rid of a talented wide receiver, I would probably look at Jacksonville. If you want a nice complementary piece to go opposite CeeDee Lamb,
like I would be a Kirk or a Ridley.
Probably not Ridley, because I think they're gonna they're going to re-up with him and kind of build a team around him. But if you like Kirk, I think that's an option. What's the other receiver name? Zay
Zay
Jones.
Jones.
Zay Jones. I think that's going to be an option because I think they're going to draft a wide receiver this year. I think they're going to bring in another X type guy in a very deep wide receiver group. So I'm looking for them to draft a guy, and then I think Kirk is going to be in year 3 of his deal where they can get out of it, and then Zay Jones was cheap, and those are guys who I think would really fit in Dallas's offense. So
Zay Jones has some criminal issues right now, so he really fits in the Dallas scheme of things.
exactly.
So you never know. I like Zay Jones. He's not utilized. Doug's not using him well in
Yeah.
Jacksonville.
So yeah, if there's any team I'm looking at for a wide receiver in the offseason, I'm watching what happens in Jacksonville.
On that note, though, I do want to say that I think that Doug Peterson has that team 1 or 2 really good pieces away from really competing for a title. So
I agree with that. Yeah, definitely. And I think they're going to get one of those pieces in a deep wide receiver draft this year. They missed out last year. I think they're going to make up for it this year.
For sure. Look, Ryan over here trying to get us back on track. See, look, Ryan's.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. So, last over under of the night, and you guys know with the last over under, I like to do a either or. So for this one, who has more passing yards, Dak Prescott or Josh Allen? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who has more passing yards?
Oh, I'm excited for this matchup, Marcus, because there are Josh Allen gets so much how do I put this? Okay. Josh does not get anywhere near the flack that Dak takes. Like we look at interceptions. That's a common issue for Josh every year, season in, season out. Dak had one bad year last year, and they threw him on the grill, and they had that thing on high. So I'm just excited. I think Dak's going to blow Josh out of the water this week. I think he's going to prove. I think Dak's trying to solidify that MVP award too. So I expect Dak to really, really shine this week.
And I thought this would be difficult, but everybody's saying Dak. Nobody's even taking the Josh Allen bait.
Good.
Yeah. Now the thing that's interesting about Josh Allen for me, Josh Allen is the quarterback that the media thinks Dak is. And Dak is the quarterback that they want Josh Allen
to be. Yep. Amen. Man, Josh, I don't understand. Josh has a really good arm. Okay. Josh has a fantastic arm. He has killer arm strength. No one is taking that away from him, but he is terrible with the ball. He does not protect the ball at all. I mean, he makes throws that I think I could get out there sometimes and be able to read a defense better than Josh Allen can. Okay. Yeah. I don't mean that hatefully, but it's true. It's not impressive. I don't understand the praise Josh Allen gets. So anyways, and I've got really good Bills fans that have already, my phone has already started blowing up. Like they were cheering the Cowboys on last week. And he told me, he goes, y'all get that out of your system because next week it's on. And I'm like, you're a California, you live in California and you're a Bills fan. I'm not really whatever, but Josh Allen is not that good. And we're going to see it this week. So
yeah, I agree 100%. I will say this. Buffalo's run defense has not been very good the past couple of weeks. So there are some opportunities. I talked about James Cook being explosive. Tony Pollard's going to have a couple opportunities as well. Last thing I'll say, and then we'll close the show out. When you look at Buffalo's defensive scheme, their linebackers are awful. I mean, they're missing Matt Milano. He's kind of the heart and soul of their defense. The other two linebackers, it's like the Eagles linebackers out there. Their defensive tackles, they're huge, all of them, 330, 340. But they're like Frankensteins out there. I talked about this a couple years back when we had Dontari Poe, where they just have the big guys that stand up and put their hands out, and then they just get pushed to the side. So you're going to see a lot of that, and then Ed Oliver just trying to use his athleticism and just win battles along with Greg Rousseau. So there are going to be some rushing opportunities this game. That would be my only concern for Dak not having more passing yards, because I think this is a great chance for Pollard to get that first 100-yard rushing game this week.
I will say, I was going to say that's the okay. I see Dak getting around 250 would be my guess, but I think we're going to hold Josh to lower than that. That's why I went
Okay.
Dak. But I just want to be clear. Tony had some really good runs up the middle. Like that, I always complain, quit running Tony Pollard up the middle.
Yeah.
But this past week, I was like, wow, Tony kind of showed flashes of things that I had missed. And the running game was working. I don't know what the deal was. I guess I don't know if you want to say Philly had an off game or if they finally I guess the clock's finally timed out.
Jalen
I
Carter
guess
was getting manhandled.
I mean, it's just I don't know. Tony looked really good, and Dowdle, I think we found our goal line back. I really hope we keep it that. Like, finally gave the ball to Dowdle down when we're in the in the 10. It's like, give the ball to the guy that's bigger. Tony's not bigger. You need to run him to the outside. But I do think Tony will have a good game. I don't see 100. I think because we're splitting it too evenly between Rico and him. I think around 75 would be good unless he gets a really big just chunk all at once. So.
I think that's possible considering the linebackers missing and their safeties missing, and they play Taylor Rapp like 40 yards deep. It's ridiculous how deep teams play Taylor Rapp because they're afraid of his lack of athleticism, that he still has a spot in the league. So there's going to be some chances where he can get 20, 30 yards before he gets touched by anybody, possibly.
Chris wanted to know, what do we think CeeDee's going to do against them?
After watching the last 2 weeks, I think this is another Jake Ferguson game. I think he gets about 80 yards this week. CeeDee Lamb's going to do his thing, but I think Jake Ferguson's going to be the leading receiver this week.
I agree. I see CeeDee probably around 60 to 80, but their weakness is in the middle of the field. It's not on the outside. They're weak. And Jake's really just coming to his own, and that's become Dak's, like I said, good at someone used to say you're only as good as your tight end. I don't remember who it was, but I think even Greg Olson brought it up a few days ago. Like he said, your tight end is your security blanket, and that's what you need. And Jake Ferguson's become that.
Right.
So I think that Dak can easily just dump it off. Jake's out there, and he kind of towers above the people that are going to be on him. So we'll see. But I don't think CeeDee's going to have a big game either. I even set him in some of my slates because I don't expect him to have a big game.
Right. And then I think on the opposite side of the opposite team, they're going to be going at their tight ends also. Yeah. And then you got the Bills traded up to get a spot ahead of Dallas to try to draft Dalton Kincaid because they thought we were going to get him. That's going to come up at some point in the game, and I'm sure that's been talked about in the locker room as well. Like, this guy was supposed to replace you, Jake Ferguson. Let them see that they made a mistake by going up to get him. B. Neal Christian, CeeDee will probably get 95 and a touchdown, be his sixth in a row with the TD. Hector asking if you have his address already.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
All right, guys, that's pretty much it. The views stayed consistent the whole show. So thank you guys once again for joining us. As you guys know, I always say it, the Fifth Quarter Podcast is fueled by fan engagement. So thank you guys for all your support. I definitely appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate your questions. Appreciate your comments. And we ask that you join us next week for another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Hopefully we will be celebrating Victory Wednesday as we beat Buffalo. And we will also be looking ahead to next week's game. I believe it's against Miami, right? Miami, then Detroit.
Miami, then Detroit, and then Washington.
Yeah. So have a great game against Miami next week. I have a couple of Dolphins podcasters that I know, so I may try to bring one of them on. But when you're dealing with other fan bases podcasters, you kind of never know what you're going to get. So I won't hold my breath on that one. I am available this Sunday, so we will be doing a pregame show this Sunday. So make sure you guys tune in Sunday morning, 11:15 Central Standard Time for our pregame show. We'll do our game predictions, our keys to victory, our bowl predictions, and we'll give you guys some of our fantasy favorites, not only in the Cowboys-Bills game, but throughout the NFL, because I know this is playoff week for some of you guys' fantasy teams. So I know every little bit of information will help you to bring home that fantasy trophy. Once again, thank you guys for joining us. Definitely appreciate your support. Amanda, any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
Oh, I just want to thank everyone for being here. I wanted DC Frail to have a show for so long, and I'm just grateful for Marcus. So thank you, Marcus. I'll go get him to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and just thanks for being here week in and week out. I go and look at the views and the comments, and it's just so great to see. And I want to thank the fans because y'all power this and y'all make it possible, and I'm super grateful. So thank you, Marcus, and thank you to everyone watching. And it's a pleasure to be here as always. Marcus probably is getting tired of me by now, but I enjoy coming on. So thank you all for being here.
Not at all, not at all. You always have an open door at the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Definitely appreciate you even being willing to join me on this. I enjoy doing it by myself sometimes, but it's always good to have somebody who can come in and kind of bounce ideas off of. So that's pretty much it for today's show. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to join us again next Wednesday, 8:30 Central Standard Time. Join us at 11:15 Central Standard Time for the pregame show. I promise I'll get you guys out at 11:50 so that you can sit down, get your favorite beverage ready for a full slate of NFL football. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, let's go Cowboys.